webinars, and we are live on YouTube too. So this is very exciting. And I want to welcome all of you today. And for those who have been joining us, thank you for supporting us every week. And for those who are new, welcome to our webinar. We do these webinars every week in hopes to give you the information and the tools that you need to ensure that you meet your immigration objective. And today we're going to be talking about, I'm sure you've heard about the bill, the spending bill that was put in place. And then we're going to talk about the EB-5 option, because there has been some confusion about that. So we're hoping to get you some really great topics to help you out. And if you have any questions, reminding folks to please post those questions in the Q&A and not in the chat, so that our moderator can easily moderate and get those questions answered. So let's get started. Yesterday, the spending bill was passed, and it had some provisions in there for addressing the backlog, and more importantly, trying to streamline immigration processes. So they increased DHS funding by $934 million above 2021. So hopefully that additional income will increase the efficiency of the USCIS. And Representative Meng made an amendment that allows unused visas for 2021 diversity, employment, family-based to remain available for fiscal year 2022 and beyond. So we got to give a great shout out to Representative Meng for doing that. And the second amendment proposed was, along with Espaillat and Pocan and Torres, is it allows the issuance of diversity visas to immigrants who would have otherwise been issued diversity visas, but because of the Muslim ban. Representative Pingree, along with Representative Cuellar, Harris, Ruppersberger, provides the Secretary of Homeland Security with the authorization to make additional H-2B visas, which is really needed, especially now after the pandemic. A lot of businesses are hurting for seasonal workers, so this would be great to boost our economy. And Representative Cuellar, along with Newhouse, requires the admittance of H-2A workers in the fiscal year 21 with regard to whether they will engage in work that is temporary or seasonal in nature. That's also to address, because now we're opening up, but the problem is we don't have the workers. And so that's a real issue. And so hopefully with this, bill, and I think folks have got to reach out to their senator's office to make sure that it gets passed in the Senate as well. And the good thing about this bill is it's got a lot of information on, a lot of funding for securing our borders, and that's what's needed. You have to have both in order to get passage, right? Because representatives have to go back to their constituents who are sometimes afraid that our borders are wide open and people are coming in. So if you have smart processes that and funding for humane treatment of the people who are coming in, then you've got a better likelihood that this bill will be passed. So remember, it has to go to the House. It may go to committee, and then it goes to the Senate. Then there's reconciliation, and once it's passed, then the president has to sign off. So I hope some more folks will come in, because next we are going to talk about the EB-5 program a little bit. And I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint so I can show you. There it is. And let's go to the slideshow from the beginning. There we go. it says regional center, but it's not just regional center, and I will talk a little bit about why. So, common immigration challenges. F1 student is concerned about securing an H-1B. They're only so limited, and this year we saw a record high in H-1B filings. H-1B visa holders and green card holders are subject to backlogs. Now, we know that it's moving steadily, but for those people who are kind of new in the permanent residence process, this may be a very good option going forward. Investors for countries that are not eligible for E2 visas can also benefit from the EB-5 program. And when you have dependents that are close to the age of 21, because I-526 processing times are longer than the I-140 processing times, you get to leverage CSPA. So this is a great way to add age back to your child so they don't age out. So the general idea is before it was up till a recent court case, a minimum investment of a targeted employment area of 900,000. Standard investment was 1.8 million, and adjustments tied to inflation every year. Now, targeted employment areas are areas where there's a high employment, at least 150% over the national average. And then remember, the reason why there's 900,000 is November of 2019, USCIS increased the minimum investment because of inflation, and it hasn't increased in so long. Well, recently a federal district court found the regulations unlawfully issued. Why is that? Because Nielsen, who was appointed by President Trump, reshuffled the succession of who would head up DHS. And she did not do that with proper authorization. So the person that was sitting as the head of DHS that issued the regulations that increased the threshold and made a number of other changes to the EB-5 program did not have the authorization to do that. And it was not just this court and this law, this regulation. It was on several regulations that many federal courts found that that individual didn't have the authorization. In fact, the OMB, Office of Management and Budget, also said that that person didn't have the authorization. So that means, what can the USCIS do, or what can DHS do now? They can appeal, but one of the arguments that the DHS attorneys put forth is, hey, they said, yes, he may not have had the authorization, or she, but the current DHS head ratified this particular regulation in March. And this person, this current DHS head, was, placed into the position after, congressional hearings and so forth. So that person had the valid authorization, and they ratified it. But the court was not, did not agree to that argument, because it's like the fruit from the poisonous tree. If the tree is poisonous, i.e., the person who issued those regulations did not have the authorization, then any fruit, the regulations, are also poisonous. So no, DHS, you can't use that argument. So if they appeal, there's no way to overcome that. The only other thing they can do is issue notice and comment. And remember, so as we stand, as the law is today, the 500,000 threshold is back. Now remember, you can even, so it's 500,000 if it's a targeted employment area, or now 1 million if it is a regular area. So that's the two type of investment thresholds. There's also two types of ways in which someone can invest. So there's direct investment, where you invest directly into a commercial enterprise. You still have to create and preserve 10 full-time jobs, and you have to take an active role in the business. Then you've got the regional centers. Well, right after the regulation was found unlawful and the threshold came back down. The EB-5 Regional Center Pilot Program, that's the pilot program, which is designated by the USCIS, has been going through, and anyone who's been keeping in touch with this topic, they know that it has to go through reauthorization. So it's on hold, waiting for congressional reauthorization. So what does that mean? The direct investment is not subject to reauthorization, and some regional centers are permitting direct investment. So how do you take advantage of the reduced investment threshold of $500,000? Well, like I said, some regional centers are permitting direct investment. When you are looking at regional centers that want to permit or that are permitting direct investment, there's a couple of tips that I want you to take away with. Ideas that when you're evaluating regional centers, make sure you get all their financials. Get an independent financial person, some friend of yours that is good with numbers and books, to review their financials to see what solid standing they're on. Because remember, during the pandemic, a lot of these regional centers took a hit. The smart ones that were able to kind of have a cushion in their finances in anticipation of some issue coming up have prevailed. Number two, you want to make sure that the regional center themselves have skin in the game, right? Because if they are not invested themselves, the people who are running the regional centers, the owners, and they're only relying on direct or EB-5 investment, that means they don't have a driving self-purpose for wanting to see that to succeed. Not that they won't, but if you've invested, if you've got a $30 million project and you yourself have invested 10 million, you're going to make sure that that project succeeds. So you want to make sure that that is in place. You want to make sure you review the subscription agreement to see. The subscription agreement is an agreement anytime you make an investment for shares. It's not run by the USCIS. It is by the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission mandates it. So it kind of tells you what the terms and conditions of your investment are. How long the EB-5 Regional Center can hold your investment, things of that nature. And then you want to know what your priority is in case there's a sale or default and so forth. You don't want too big of a EB-5 Regional Center investment program, because when you have something that big, it can at any point have issues and be problematic. And I personally would want a program where I can go visit the investment. I would like to go there, see what's going on, get updates that are real and, that you can assess and confirm that you've got security that they will be able to create the 10 jobs. Because unlike in, regional center pilot program that is no longer valid, direct investment can't use indirect jobs. They can only use direct jobs. So if it is a franchise, you want to look at the franchise agreement, because the franchise agreement for that every person purchases will have what are the standard jobs that this particular type of franchise will create. So that's something that's very important to review. Now, because the regional center is, they're not accepting petitions for the regional center right now, only for direct investment, which is, if you look at, how many petitions are accepted for direct investment versus regional centers, it's a lot lower. So that means the processing times may speed up now because they're getting less, regional center applications. Now, remember, I said earlier that with direct investment, you can't have a passive role. What kind of role you can have? What kind of role do you have? So, you can either have it within the management, you are working at the particular facility, or you are on the board of directors and you have some policy roles that is typical for that type of designation pursuant to the state regulations. So that's another thing you want to review, and that's usually in the operating agreement. So you want to look at what your designation is in the subscription agreement, and then you review the operating agreement to make sure that that role, meets those regulations. Finally, a lot of people asked about promissory notes. What if I don't have the entire $500,000 immediately, but I may have it down the road? Well, there are a lot of regional centers that are willing to issue a promissory note. So if you have maybe $300,000, you can sign a promissory note with the regional center or with the investment. I'm saying regional center because a lot of regional centers are now offering direct investment. But you can sign a promissory note. The promissory note has to be valid pursuant to the state that it is being issued. So it depends on where the investment is. Number two, to find a promissory note valid, the note has to be secured by the investor's assets. And I'll talk about a case that puts a little ping on that. But for the main part, because the regulations state that the person is investing or is actively investing. So you can use those two thresholds to make the argument that the person is actively investing, or you can say that the promissory note is actually deemed credible because the USCIS says you can use indebtedness for part of your EB-5 investment. But for the most part, they have found, I looked at all the cases for promissory notes, that it should be secured by the investor, that the assets have to be able to be seized. And if you have if you're going to use foreign assets like property, then a couple of things. You have to provide evidence that those assets overseas can be seized, in addition to providing that those assets are owned by the investor. And finally, there is something called discounting of the promissory note. Now, there have been a couple of court cases where they've said that they have discounted, like, for example, if you've got a promissory note, in our example, for $200,000, you probably want to add a $50,000 buffer to that. The reason is because there are a couple of cases where they've said that in the free market, promissory notes are often discounted when you resell them. Another thing is if you're going to seize assets, there's going to be costs associated with that. So that would diminish the value of what that promissory note is. And last but not least, when it comes to bank accounts, securing a promissory note with just a bank account, they have found that the bank accounts, money can be taken out. So how is that a secured asset unless it's put into a trust or something where it's very difficult to easily take the money out? So those are the tips on the promissory note. Now, recently, there was a decision, the Zhang decision. This was pending for such a long time. So Zhang and another individual filed for an EB-5, I-526, and they secured it. I mean, they did not secure it with valid assets. It was, both the district court upheld it, and then it went to the appellate court. And then the appellate court, what they said was, look, money is money. The regulations are clear. They're not ambiguous. So where the regulations are clear, you can't, as an agency, make your own interpretations of that regulations, which is actually what happened. At one of the EB-5 roundtables, somebody made a suggestion, and all of a sudden the USCIS started saying all loans have to be secured. Well, the Federal Court of Appeals said, no, it doesn't. And that's not what the regulations state. So you have to stick to the same language. But instead of approving Zhang, they maintained their holding and they remanded back to the agency. That means they sent it back to the USCIS to adjudicate. Well, recently, the USCIS approved the Zhang decision, approved their I-526, which effectively by a federal appellate court makes it the law of the land. The problem is the USCIS has not changed their policy manual up to date. So until they do that, there is some uncertainty related to whether they would accept unsecured loans. Now, you can make that argument, but for the most part, I would, if you're trying to be absolutely, clear and trying to ensure that there are no issues with your petition, I would try to find some way to secure a promissory note. And if you want more information about that, please email us at info@cellolaw.com. The other thing I want to tell you all is I love connecting with you every week, whether it is here or it is through, some of our other mechanisms like the Telegram group and other places. So what I would like you all to do for me, and this is just for me, is make sure you join our Telegram group. We're going to be doing, I think I'm going to try to schedule it tomorrow evening, a Telegram live where I'm just going to be answering questions and trying to help people with the resources they need to ensure they meet their immigration objective. It'll be from 7 to 8 tomorrow night. You can join our Telegram group, and all you have to do, if you are on the computer, is take your phone, open up the camera, and if you go up to the QR code, it will give you a link where you can join. And I'd love for you to be part of this community. It's great because you're with a number of people who are in the same boat as you are. So there's all sorts of great information that you're getting from your community members, like how long is it taking for EADs? When has any of you gotten a biometrics appointment yet? How many people are getting their adjustment approved without an interview? That's kind of cool to have this community of people, and we're part of that community. So you've got a law firm that is part of the community that is giving you the information. One of the reasons why I created the Telegram group is when I tried to join other forums last year, especially during the time when the pandemic was high and all these bans were coming into place, I would answer questions on different forums just to help people out. And I got kicked out of the forums because they wanted to charge you for getting an answer from me. And I said, that's not fair. People are going through such difficult times. They shouldn't have to do this. So that's why we started this Telegram group. So please get your camera up, join if you haven't joined, share it with your friends, because we would love to have more people in the community. You get more information as to what's going on, and you get to help a lot more people, right? So please join us on Telegram. And second, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, join us on Facebook. On Facebook, we post all these memos that are incredibly helpful. And I would love for any of you to share our Facebook post. If you do that, even if you join our Telegram group, if you're part of our Telegram group, you'll be one of the first people I call on when we're doing a Telegram voice chat. So if you can share our posting about the Telegram group live on your Facebook, I'll make sure that you are one of the first persons we call on when we do the Facebook Live. And you can do a one-on-one with me live on Telegram. And what's wonderful about that is, usually I charge $250 for a half an hour. So you get me for free to answer your question. And I'm always looking to help anyone, even if they've got another attorney that they're using. Our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of great information on our YouTube channel. Again, take your phone, put it up, and you should automatically get a QR code that'll take you to our YouTube channel, or you can go to YouTube at cellolaw.com. Subscribe, comment, share with your friends, and that way you'll get notified every time we update the Facebook channel. So I would really appreciate that if you could do that. And if you haven't signed up for our webinars and you are in the YouTube live world, hi folks, here's one way you can sign up for our webinars and get notifications of when we have them every week. Again, take your phone, open up your camera and go to the QR code and you get it. Or go to Cello Law at Wednesday webinars and we would, you can sign up that way. Like I said, sign up, share it with your friends. All of you have friends that are going through this process. And it's astounding to me. I have relatives that are working in like Intel and Amazon, and they come to me with questions and they tell me about how all their friends don't have a clear answer on this. And I'm thinking, but you're at work at Amazon, your attorney's not telling you this? So they didn't even know that they could file two, I-140 petitions with one perm. I said, no, go ahead and file. You can file EB-2 and EB-3 at the same time. And when they went back to their attorney, they said, yeah, you can. And they were like, why didn't you tell us? They said, well, we don't, if you ask us, we'll tell you. But if you don't ask us, we're not going to tell you. So here is a place that you can get tips without asking for it, that you get them free. And that's what we're trying to provide. And here is our link tree for all our, various social media things. Again, take it up, take a picture, or get on the link tree, or take a picture of this with your phone, or do a screenshot, and then you can share it with your friends. We would love it if you all would spread the word. That would mean so much to me. And so we are now ready for your favorite part of the program, the Q&A. This Saturday, I actually did a webinar for a group in North Carolina. We had about 80 people there, I think, at some point, and it was great. I really enjoyed connecting with the people, answering their questions. I answered questions. I just got off the flight after taking a flight from Richmond to Charlotte to Greenville. I was all day, and I just got there, opened up the computer, and I was able to talk to them, answer questions for 2 hours, trying to help these great people of North Carolina with their immigration questions. So look forward to the Q&A, and we've got Shaker Chella joining us right now. Hi, Shaker, how are you?
Hi, Lakshmi, good afternoon. How's everybody? Looking very bright on a Wednesday afternoon there. Yeah.
All ready to answer questions and help folks out.
Intense Q&A on Saturday was pretty good.
We were able to help a lot of people out, and that's what made me really happy.
Yeah. All right, let's get on with the questions. First one is Prakash Havuluri. My wife and my son filed I-539 and 539A documents and received both case IDs and pending with USCIS. If my wife travels to India while it is pending with the USCIS, is there any impact on my son's 539A as he is staying with me? If my wife travels to India, what are the options to my son staying in US without any impact on his status?
So say it again, the wife is the primary H-1B visa holder?
Doesn't say anything that my wife and my son filed 539 and 539A.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's okay if the wife goes back and your son, even though he was filed on the I-539, is eligible for the H-4 because he is your dependent. So the fact that your wife has gone back to India for some time won't impact his status. So he's good.
All right. Next one is from an anonymous attendee. I got a notice from USCIS stating that I-485 initial case review completed and case transfer to NBC, National Benefit Center. What does it mean? My final action date is current since March.
Right, so it takes about 6 weeks to go from the USCIS to the National Benefit Center. National Benefit Center is incredibly backlogged, but that means your case is progressing. And what you want to do is, if you don't hear from the National Benefit Center, ping them in about, like I said, depending upon the date, give it 6 weeks, because that's usually standard for the case to be on someone's desk and go through that bureaucratic process, whatever that is. So see if, in that time frame, after it's, keep pinging them and then find out what's next. And then from there, it'll go to the local office. And hopefully you won't get an interview. A lot of people are getting approved without an interview. And Shaker, I just wanted to tell folks, I put up a poll, so I would love it if you could answer the poll. And I just wanted to see from a show of hands, how many new folks do we have today? Can you raise your hand on this great Wednesday? Oh, we've got some new people.
6, 7.
Well, great. Welcome. Welcome to all of you for joining. And, if you find this information helpful, I never want anyone to recommend any of our social media services unless you think this is good and helpful. But if you do, please let my new 7 folks that have joined share this with your friends as well. And if you could answer the poll, that would help us serve you better. So please try to respond to that poll. It's just very quick. Go ahead, Shaker.
All right, next one from another AA. What happens to the spillover of 130,000 green cards that came to EB category this fiscal year, and the 150,000 green cards that will spill over in FY22? Will these spillovers go away if the bill becomes a law?
Right, so part of the bill incorporates utilizing the unused for this year. If you check out our YouTube video from last week, I actually go over the calculations and the resources. And I was supposed to post it in our Telegram group. I didn't get a chance because it's been just crazy busy with travel and so forth, but I'm not going into the office today, so I can try to do some of that so I can connect with my Telegram folks today. So I'll be uploading the data on our Telegram group, but I'm sure Kara can link our last week webinar site, so you can check out our webinar from last week that will go through it in detail. Congress has, on many occasions, 2 things: utilize the unused quota at one time, and then the regulations clearly state that Congress is supposed to use the unallocated. The problem has been with the calculation. The calculation is faulty. So unless they fix the calculation, which is going to be one of our suggestions for this spending bill, then we're going to keep going into this problem again and again. And I go through that in detail in our last webinar last week.
Okay. Next one is another AA. My case transferred from NBC to Texas to NBC. My final action date is current. Case transfer between service centers is just online process between them, or physical notification and package will transfer?
Say it again.
The case has been transferred from NBC to Texas and back to NBC. And it says my final action date is current. So the question is the case transfer between service centers is just an online process, or is it physically they move the package from
They
one?
physically moved the package. So it went from NBC back to the service center. You want to kind of understand why. So I would call, everyone knows about Emma, but there's so many other ways you can contact the USCIS. And remember, we have a new USCIS head. The person was just, went through congressional hearings recently. And one of the commitments that she has is to eliminate the backlogs. And the Biden administration overall is to make the USCIS more of a customer-centric environment. So Kara will share a link where we talk about how you can contact USCIS, use that, and find out what's going on. There have been a lot of times that they make a mistake about priority dates and so forth, especially if you're porting a previous priority date. Sometimes it doesn't click with them. So, make sure you follow up on that. And
Well,
guys, if you can, I think we only 14 of the 48 people on here have responded to the polls. Come on, you can do better than that. Let's get a response. Okay, Shaker, next.
All right. For all the folks out there, the idea to collect some information is basically to serve you better, that's all. So that we know where to target the messages, because we will know from you where you are located, that's all. So that's the idea, very plain and simple. Next one is from AA.
I was just going to say, thanks for the additional people that responded to the poll. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So what are the chances of this bill passing the Senate?
Well, like I said, it's got some really good key components in terms of, technology to secure the border, which is what is needed. Funds for CBP, funds for, there's a lot of the money that's allocated to enforcement, which is what we need. The reason is that's what the opponents of any progressive immigration bill state. You're not securing the borders. You want to give out visas. So unless we show that we have a commitment to secure the borders, they won't. And then they have to go out back to their constituency and explain to them why, when there was a bill that would have taken care of the problem at the border, that they didn't pass it. And all the other things they're asking for, the backlog, H-2Bs, H-2As, those are things that people have been supporting on both sides of the aisle. So fingers crossed.
Okay. So I noticed that there's a question in the chat. So I'll take it in the order it's received, but I'd like you all to please put the question in the Q&A box. Next one is from another AA. How USCIS processes I-485? Is it based on receipt date, notice date, or priority date?
Well, a little of both. So once it comes in, it's usually first in, first out. They will remember when it's accepted for dates of filing, they do kind of a preliminary review, right? So they do that so that when purportedly, when the dates are current, it can move faster. So there's some review that takes place first in, first out. Then the final review takes place when the priority dates are current, and that's when it starts moving.
Okay. Next one is from SJ. I am in H-1B. Can I use money in US account for EB-5?
Say it again. What is it?
I am in H-1B. Can I use money in US account for EB-5?
Absolutely. You can use money from many different places. You can use money from many different sources. You can use a loan, a gift. You can have a gift from your parents if they're able to transfer the money here. You can use multiple ways to get, so many different people to get the 500,000, many different mechanisms, loan, gift, your own money. You can get a loan against your 401k, which is a way to get some of the money. You can get a loan against your house. And like I said, some EB-5 centers are now leveraging the promissory note. I don't like the promissory note, but it is authorized by the regulations, and some are leveraging that. So even if you can't get the 500,000 all at one time, if you can get a substantial portion of it. And so email us if you want additional information on the EB-5 program at info@cellolaw.com. And the other thing to keep in mind is there are a couple of bills right now that are looking to reauthorize the EB-5 Regional Center. And if with the reauthorization, they're going to increase the fees. So right now, the 500,000 is, if you are investing in a targeted employment area, is the base fee based on that federal district court case. So you can use that. Zhang says you can use unsecured loans. So I wouldn't do it, but if you're in a crunch, there is an argument because this is not a federal district court case, it's a federal appellate case. The only way they can appeal this is by going to the Supreme Court, which I don't think they're going to do. So, and the fact that the USCIS, after it was remanded back to them, approved it, means that the policy change is underway. It just hasn't happened yet. So you can do that. I would, if you're thinking of doing that, I would do that fast. I think the direct investments, this is my prediction, because I looked at the numbers between direct investments and regional centers. Regional center filings are much higher than the number of direct investments. So now they're not processing regional centers. The ones that had already been filed are on hold, and they're not accepting any new ones. So these direct investments are going to get processed very quickly, and it's current. So to me, it's a no-brainer that if this is something you can do, you should do. And like I said, email us at info@cellolaw.com if you want some additional information on the EB-5 direct investment process.
Next one is from Venkata Chituri. I have completed my I-485 EB2 interview. The officer told me that there is nothing pending on my case. My application will be sent back to NBC as my PD is not current as of that day.
Okay.
My date became current from 1st July. How long it will take to approve my case, and there is no change in status after my interview. Still, it shows fingerprints taken.
Okay. I think it should be, hopefully you should hear something in the next couple of weeks. You may want to, again, remind the NBC that you are now current and you've already had your interview. We have heard instances where people have had interviews, it's gone back to the NBC, and then the NBC just sits on it. So you want to let them know. Remember, you are the master of your immigration journey. So you got to make sure you take charge.
Okay. The next question is from Rama Miragani, sorry. I have filed my 485 adjustment of status last December, along with I-765 and I-131. But I had traveled to India in March. My 485 is still in process. Can I file my 131 now? Do I have to pay the fee for processing my I-131?
Yes, I think we looked into that, didn't we, Kara? And if you don't file the I-131 along with the I-485, I think you are subject to the additional fee. I don't deal with the I-131s as much, but Kara can post that. And if not, we'll post that answer on the Telegram group.
Okay. Next one is from another AA. If Representative Ming's bill passes in Senate, will it hurt the spillover for 2022 from family-based to employment-based visas? No,
because remember, that's part of Ming's amendment, is to make sure that the spillover is utilized. So, it's not going to hurt it. And there we go. From the beginning. I'm just putting up so that we've got a lot of people that just joined in the last 15 minutes. Folks, if you've just joined, I'm going to put up our links for our social media, mainly Telegram and other social media. And as I said, we'll get back to the Q&A, but I just want to demonstrate. If you're watching this on your computer, you just take your phone up to the QR code. And if you take it up to the QR code, it'll give you a link. So I get so many notifications. There we go. So if you go to the QR code, there you go, you get a link. So join our Telegram group so you can find out about things like what your other community members are dealing with in terms of processing times. And we keep posting resources on there, but it's not just us. You join this community of people that are going through everything you're going through, which is really great. I love the support everyone on our Telegram groups has for one another. So it's something that you'll feel good about, and I'm sure you'll find it value add. Our Facebook group, we post all our memos on our Facebook. So make sure, again, take your phone, get the QR code, and we're going to be doing a Telegram live tomorrow night. And if you share our Facebook post about the Telegram live that we'll be posting up later today on your Facebook, then you'll be one of the first persons I call on tomorrow. And you get to talk and ask your question to me directly, and I will give you, this is a free consult, guys. It's $250 otherwise. So, take advantage of it. And then, of course, our YouTube channel, we're going to be posting a lot more resources on there, short clips, less than 15 minutes for a lot of topics and questions that we see. And then, of course, our webinars. If you haven't signed up for our webinars, especially those on YouTube that are watching, this is a way you put your phone up, get your QR code, and then you can join, or there's the link at the bottom. So I wanted to put those up, and this is one which I'll keep this up for some time that connects you to all our various social media links. So sorry, Shaker, I wanted to make sure that people had the opportunity to do that before they start logging off.
Yep, it's true.
Phone, picture, that's it. Or you can even do a screenshot from your computer. And if you do a screenshot from your computer, you can access it later and join with that link. Or a screenshot from your phone. If you've got it on your phone, you just do a screenshot and then you'll be able to get it that way. Okay, next question.
All right. Another AA question. Appropriations Committee approved the fiscal year 2022 Homeland Security Budget Bill, which includes allowing of DOS to have unused visas in FY 2020 and 2021 to remain available in 2022 for diversity visas and employment and family-based category.
Mm-hmm.
This bill passes in Senate, that will stop the 2021 FB unused GC spillover to FY 2022 EB category?
No, because remember, Ming has a provision in there. She made an amendment so that they utilize the unused numbers. So no, that won't hurt that process as well. And I want to thank everyone for responding to my second poll. You all have been great. It's almost at 100%. So the 10 of you that have not responded, come on, you want to respond with everybody else, but that's great. Thank you.
All right, next one is from Harish K. Could you please tell the impact of Congress bill that passed yesterday on the EB categories, how it affects AOS applications that filed in October 2020, how it will affect 2021 EB visa availability?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of funding that's going in. It'll affect processing times, streamlining processes, so that this kind of what you've been seeing, the slow pace at which the USCIS has been operating, quite frankly, for the past 4 years, will become faster. Number two, there is provisions in there for using the unused visas. There's provisions in there for the backlogs. So that gives you greater security that at least those in line will be able to see the fruition of their AOS application.
Okay. Next one is from another AA.
And I just wanted to say, we're probably going to post that. I'm sure Kara is just phenomenal. So I'm sure she's got a memo already drafted, and it's probably already on our Facebook page. So if you like our Facebook page, then you'll be able to get the memos of, sometimes I know that in the Q&A, it's hard for me to go into details, but those memos usually have greater detail.
Okay, next question is, I need the PERM certificate from previous employer. Do they give PERM certificate? I tried asking them, but they did not give. What is the next approach?
I think you can access those online. I'm pretty sure that you should be able to access it by searching for the employer. Or your attorney should be able to search for it, because I know that we've pulled PERMs before on the DOL iCert website. And that's a good point. I'll make sure to, for all the people that are trying to do AC-21, maybe Kara, a quick little memo on how to pull PERMs from the iCert through John's guidance would be a good post for us to post. Oh, when they changed over the flag system. Okay, she said you used to be able to search for them, but now since the flag system, you cannot. And your employer, the permanent resident, the attorney, this is what I'll tell you. We have all our clients sign a dual representation letter. When an attorney it doesn't matter who's paying for the PERM. When an attorney is undertaking a PERM process, he's representing both the employer and the employee. And if he does not give you your PERM, you can file a complaint with that attorney in your state. And I think all you need to say is you are required, you are ethically required to provide me a copy of the PERM, because the PERM process is a dual represented process. So do that, and you should be able to get it from the attorney. And I would send that in an email. Make sure you have a read receipt and a delivery receipt so they know you're serious.
Okay. Next one is from Karthik Mehta. How much time do you have today?
I've got till about 1, but we're going to be doing the Facebook Live tomorrow. So anybody that didn't get their questions answered, they can get them answered tomorrow. And remember, if once we've got our post up about our Telegram Live, if you post it on your Facebook, you're going to be one of the first persons I ask. And then you get all the time in the world with me. So go ahead.
All right. Karthik Mehta, the next EB-5 company called Playa Vista Equities. They are offering unsecured loans. Any thoughts about the company?
Yeah, I'd have to look at most of these funding companies. I have a little bit of issues with, because they fund in many different businesses. So, and they make money because of the fund. You know, my son is in financial services, and so I know a little bit about this. Funds make money from the funds. They're not actually a product. They invest in different things and they make money from those things. I'm one of those people, I like to touch and feel. I want to make sure that I can see what my money is doing. And remember, it's not only people offering unsecured loans. You're responsible for your own immigration journey and decisions. Just because they're offering it, like I told you in Zhang, yes, they said unsecured loans are fine, but it's not in the USCIS policy memo yet. If you want to take that risk, then you can. I don't like to take that risk for my clients. So recently we had a filing with a promissory note. It was post the Zhang decision, but I didn't want to deal with, the uncertainty. And I've heard of RFEs after the Zhang decision where they're asking for documentations about the assets that's securing the promissory note. So you want to do this, giving you the greatest flexibility you can with balancing the greatest insurance that you're going to get it approved. Because it's a lot of money that you're investing. And I personally, as an attorney, would not, I take your money as my money. So I would not, I want to make sure that you're I-526 successful.
All right, due to time limitations, I've got 3 more questions I'll take. Pete Sadie is next, then it'll be Michael Tellis, and then the YouTube question from Mihir Mod. Those are the 3. So if we don't get to your questions, sorry, but just send an email to us, info@Law.
Or join us live tomorrow.
Yep.
On Telegram.
So Pete Sadie, hi ma'am, my PD is October 2009, applied for AOS I-485 in February 2012 and received my EAD in 2 months. Just recently received RFE on my case, which I replied on June 11th. That done, when should I expect a decision on my case?
Well, it depends on the RFE. If it was a simple RFE that you didn't have the correct documents, or you didn't have your medicals or something simple like that, you should hear from it fairly quickly. If it's a complicated issue of law, then that usually takes a little bit longer, maybe 6 to 8 weeks.
All right. So the next question is from Michael Tellis. If I plan to interfile my medicals proactively and my case has been moved to the local field office instead of at NBC, do I need to send my medicals to the field office instead of NBC? Can I reach out to your office post this call to get the specific address for my field office?
Right, and the field office addresses are online. So if you go online, you should be able to find the USCIS field office within your jurisdiction. I wouldn't mail it in at this point. Because I'm concerned field offices are not as good as, maybe you can take a chance and do it by FedEx and make sure it reaches the file. Make sure you include your name and receipt number, and you say I-485 medicals on there on the envelope, so that the person that opens it knows that there's an existing file that they need to join it up with.
It's got a follow-up. It says if you didn't file your medicals with the adjustment of status and do them later, are those medicals valid for 60 days post signing by the civil surgeon, or
Yes.
are they valid for 2 years?
I think once you submit them, they're valid for 2 years. But if you haven't submitted them, they're only valid for 60 days.
They're valid for 60 days. The medicals have to reach within the time. And if valid only for 60 days, do the medical just have to reach USCIS
Yes,
within the
so
time frame?
that's why I retract what I was telling you as to waiting, and I said, go ahead and send it in, but make sure that the envelope has your receipt number, your name, state that it's I-485 medicals, so that it ensures the guy that's receiving the mail, hey, this is an existing case that we have here.
All right. So the last question from Mihir Mod from, we've got a couple of things here. Let's see. I have noticed recently that USCIS is approving the I-485 and issuing the GC before the priority date becomes current and final action date. Can you please put some light on this and impact on GC?
Yeah, so that's probably been a mistake. There are flukes like that where it does happen, but it's not very common. So it is only because they're under a tremendous amount of pressure to get these AOS applications done. So, they're human beings. They sometimes make mistakes. So I wouldn't read too much into it, except for that it's probably a fluke.
So he's just clarifying this is for direct EB-3 case PD around March 2014.
Yeah, like I said, it was probably not a realization. They cannot really approve it until the priority date is current. So,
All right, so that's about all for today. It's 2 minutes past 1 o'clock. Thank you very much for the opportunity, everybody.
right, and if you didn't get a chance to get your question answered today, join us tomorrow night, 7 to 8. I picked that time so that it would be after work and easy for both East Coast and West Coast, and not too late for me. So join us on Telegram Live. You know, we had the link up for Telegram. If you're not part of our Telegram group, share it with your friends, and let's get some immigration answers tomorrow. It's just going to be Q&A. And if you share our Facebook page that has the Telegram link on it, on your Facebook page, I will talk to you first. So thank you again for joining. Thank you for the polls. Thanking Kara and my team for all their hard work. And thank you, Shaker, for being the great moderator.
Thank you for the opportunity, and stay classy, everybody.
Yes.
Have a good week.
And I want to give my nephew a little shout out. It's his birthday tomorrow. Nico. Mwah. He's my youngest nephew, and he's just adorable. So I wanted to give him a happy birthday shout out on our webinar.
Yep. July.
All right, folks. Stay safe. See you again next week, if not tomorrow night. Take care.
Thank you.